Hey, my name is TJ. I'm a young person in long-term recovery. For me, that means I haven't had a drink or a drug since August 9th, 2016. I'm here hosting the Recovery Matters podcast today with...
Rich St. Pierre.
What's going on, man? I'm glad to have you on today.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here.
Yeah.
Very happy. So, I like that your clean date is right next to mine. I'm August 12th.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep. So I just celebrated 9 years.
Nice, dude.
Yep. I mean, early life stuff. Yeah. You know, I just grew up in the suburbs, you know, fairly normal. I do remember like a lot of anger and arguing in my household. You know what I mean? That was, I think that was like the first thing that, just kind of made me feel, uncomfortable in my own environment. You know, I just remember my dad just being like really, really angry, you know, and taking it out on us and my mom and stuff like that. And as like kind of just like a natural reaction, my mom would like hide stuff from him, and that would just kind of exacerbate the issue, you know? So we were just always on edge as kids. I was a middle child. So I had an older brother that was like not really in the picture. He was always in and out of prison, getting high and stuff. So like from an early age, I saw that was like kind of like the out, you know? Yes. I was like, if I don't want to be here anymore, like I'm going to be out there partying and, you know, just doing whatever he's doing. I wasn't quite sure what that was when I was little, but I was like, he's not here. So that's got to be the better alternative, you know? Mm-hmm. I had a younger brother as well. He has since passed. This is him right here.
Wow.
Yeah. I'll tell you a little bit about that tattoo in a little bit.
Okay.
But yeah, he, it's 7 years ago, he was killed in a car accident, alcohol-related car accident. But him and I were super close growing up. You know, did everything together. We did martial arts and skateboarding and all that stuff. You know, a lot of individual sports. I wasn't really into team sports. I did all right in school. Pretty good for a while. Around middle school was when stuff started getting like really difficult for me. I was getting bullied a lot, and was just not happy with a lot of things in life, you know, because like home stuff was not great, school stuff was not great. So I was just looking for an escape. Honestly, like I remember before I even started getting high, like I pretended that I had gotten high because I wanted those kids to accept me. You know what I mean? Because like the jocks and the preppy kids were, you know, they didn't accept me. You know, there were a lot of different circles that I tried to befriend people in. It just didn't work out for me, you know? So yeah, it's crazy, but I think I was kind of like just on the path, kind of destined for that life, you know? Started partying and stuff in high school. I was in punk rock bands. Nice. You know, screaming on the microphone and stuff, you know, spent a lot of time in recording studios, playing shows and stuff like that. And that was kind of where I got started with all the partying was that scene, skateboarding and stuff too. You know, there's a lot of, drinking and smoking, I guess, in that scene too. Yes. So, and then the harder stuff with the music scene, you know? So, yeah, I pretty much around high school kind of just set out to detach from my family. Unfortunately, you know, my younger brother really like wanted and needed me around in those times, and that's one of the things I still carry like a lot of guilt about. Okay. And that guilt, like, you know, I really try not to like beat myself up over it anymore. Because I do a lot of good stuff for people these days, you know what I mean? Yeah. I'm like, so I tend to like lean more into that, but like for a lot of years, I beat myself up for that, especially after losing him, you know? the first thing he did when he got his driver's license was go down to Park Street to look for me, you know, like the little brother taking that big brother role, trying to save me, really, you know. So I wasn't around during, you know, his adolescence and stuff. I started, you know, I dropped out of high school. I started running pretty hard after that. You know, heroin, cocaine, IV drug use, you know, smoking crack, just like all the things. You know what I mean? There was really, I wasn't like, oh, I'm scared of that, or I don't want to try that. I was like, yeah, just give me all of it, you know? I ran really hard until my mid-20s. And it was always just like getting in trouble, going to treatment, getting in trouble, going to every arrest. I'd be like, all right, well, I'll just go to treatment and
shave my ass.
Exactly.
Try to get appearances up. Listen, look at what I'm doing, right? I'm making a shot here, you know.
And it wasn't like, you know, and it wasn't all in vain. It was all like, you know, kind of just like planting those seeds. You know, every time I would go in, I would take it somewhat seriously. I'd get like an AA or NA big book, and I'd read the book, because back then multiple pathways didn't exist. It was like AA, NA, or die, you know, right? So you know, I would get the books, I would read them. I would even be like so obnoxious as to like memorize like the readings and stuff. So I could be like, see, I got this, and you know, it doesn't work. You know, I was just obnoxious. I told the clinician once, I said, my culture is not your college degree. I said, you don't know what I've been through, you know, because recovery support specialist, RSS, recovery coach, recovery advisor, whatever it is, did not exist back then.
Yep.
You know, we had clinical staff, medical staff in these programs, but like, you know, it wasn't like anyone's specific job to be in recovery.
Yep.
And I think that's what's so cool about like what I do now. You know, when people ask me what I do at work, I work for Hartford Healthcare, Rushford, right? Yep. So when people ask me what I do, I'm like, I simplify it. I know it's not all of it, but I'm like, hey, it's just my job to be like a friendly face in recovery here and show you guys that this stuff works.
Yeah, make that connection.
Yeah.
I went to Rushford a bunch of times. My favorite counselor, he doesn't, I don't know if he's in recovery or not, but I don't think so. And I mean, I had this guy 9 times, and I went to IOP over there 9 times.
Yeah.
And I'm the best counselor I've ever had in my life.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. If you're open-minded and you have a good perspective that like, you know, you can get help anywhere from anyone. And a lot of times, you know, people who work in the field have a reason for it. You know, they were affected by addiction in some way, whether it was directly or, you know, through someone that they know and love, you know.
And like the thing too is like, I think we do fall into that trap where it's like we automatically come in with a wall up, and it's like, I'm going to do whatever it takes to prevent this connection from being made.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, I see people every day that are all different levels of like stages of change, you know? And I'm like, all right, okay, how are we going to just gently lead this person through these stages and get them to the point where they're actually ready to do the work, you know? Because that was really it. Like, no matter how many, you know, readings and steps and how much of the literature I memorized, like, it didn't work because I just wasn't putting any of it into practice.
Yep.
You know, and
true.
Yeah, and the way I got clean, it was just super weird. It just kind of happened. It happened slowly, and it wasn't like, okay, well, this is it. This is the last time I'm going to use. Now I'm going to go to treatment and I never used again. Like, it was kind of crazy. So like I started getting like the actual desire to stop around 25 years old. I had done, you know, a bunch of programs, even some really crazy programs. I was in court. I kept violating probation, and they were offering me 5 years. And the social worker came to me and was like, "Hey, we have this great program out in like mid-state New York. It's called the Delancey Street Foundation, and it's not necessarily like a medical, you know, detox and rehab. It's a program for people who've been involved in criminal activity most of their life, and it's a 2-year program that rehabilitates them. There's no professionals there. There's no medical professionals. The staff are literally people who've been there for 2 years and have chose to stay and kind of give back. Well, I obviously took that.
Yeah.
2 years in a program, 5 years in prison. Like, which way am I going to go? So logically, I went that way, and they had me show up with nothing but the clothes on my back. They took my clothes, gave me 5 pairs of donation clothes, and some used work boots.
Nice.
And they put me on work detail, right? So like, you started out in maintenance, and then you would go to these different departments once you made it through your 30 days on the maintenance team. And there was a moving company, an auto shop, a glass shop, a woodworking shop. And that's how they like funded the program. They would like do things in the community to fund the program. It was really interesting, but I think like the pitfall was when, you really don't have any accountability there. It's just literally, if we stay there for 2 years and hey, we're running the place, so I think that was what made it like kind of a less than perfect experience. Mm-hmm. But from the work boots, I had gotten like a really, really bad like fungal infection on my feet. I was denied medical care, and I ended up leaving the program after about 3-4 months. Went back and forth with probation. Luckily, didn't get violated. But it was like kind of experiences like that, like things that were like just super traumatic. It was one of those programs where they like scream at you.
Yes.
Too, like at the end of the day, they put you all in a room, and you're not allowed to like confront people during the day. But at the end of the day, when you played the game, all bets were off. You could say whatever you wanted to someone, as long as it wasn't like, racial or homophobic or anything like that. I mean, no holds barred aside from that. Right. So it was just, it was a weird vibe. Definitely not for me. And, I did use a little bit after that. I did the whole Florida thing. I went down to a program in Florida, actually from Rushford. When I was going to treatment, I was in Rushford at least 4 times inpatient. Yep. The first time, it was before Hartford Healthcare had even acquired it. So they had detox, inpatient on the 2nd floor, and then a halfway house on the 3rd floor. I got kicked out of halfway house for smoking weed in the bathroom. The next time I went there with a broken jaw, because I'd given a drug dealer fake money, and he
punched you in the face.
He punched me in the face, broke my jaw, so my jaw was wired shut. And that's when they sent me to Florida. They were like, hey, you got to do something different. You've been coming here over and over again. It's not necessarily working. So go down to Florida. Florida was honestly a massive shit show for me.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because, a whole new set of drugs and ways and means to get them and all that. My addiction progressed from, heroin, cocaine to like crystal meth and all that stuff. And it just got way, way crazier. I actually have a joke about accountability, right? So like that's one thing that I'm like big on now, is like whatever happens to us, like the only way we're going to change is by like introspection, right?
Yes.
Like I can look at my part in it, even if like, someone assaults me, like what was I doing there? Why was I there? Was I hanging out with the wrong crowd? Things like that. Mm-hmm. So when I was down in Florida, I like I said, I'm not going to get into like the nitty gritty and the details of it, but I was kidnapped twice.
Jeez.
Twice in a 2-month period.
Okay.
Right? Not everyone's just walking down the street getting kidnapped with that kind of regularity. Like if you're kind of just like minding your business and like, just doing what you're supposed to in life, you're not getting kidnapped, especially twice in 2 months. So like that was a moment of accountability for me, because like I'd already been through recovery quite a bit, in and out. So I was like, what am I doing that is leading me to get kidnapped with such a frequency? So the second time, the kidnapping happened in Florida. I wound up in Ohio. Almost got arrested, got detained, but then released by the police, and had to find my way home.
Yep.
I stayed out there in Columbus, Ohio for about a month. Found my way home. That was when I got on methadone, and that was what led me to get clean. I was on methadone for a year. I went up to 170 milligrams, pretty hefty dose.
Oh, yeah.
I was still using periodically, but because of my dose being so high, it wasn't like an everyday thing. It was like, like I don't really need to get high today, or like, today I have money, like I'm gonna go use, and that's literally what my last use was like. It was, beginning of August. I say August 12th. I know it was the beginning of August.
Yep.
I didn't count my clean date or my time or anything like that for the first few years. But beginning of August, I was home alone. My mom and my girlfriend were at work. I think I had like $20-$30 or something. And I'm like, I'm going to hop on my moped. I'm going to go down to Hartford and get high.
Yep.
And it was so uneventful. Like I did that. I went back up. I came home. And that was it. A month later, I found out my daughter was going to be born. And I was like, this is now what I want to do. Like, I always like being like good at things. I tried to be the most conniving, criminally minded drug addict that I possibly could. I hung my hat on that. That was like my identity,
Mm-hmm.
So when my daughter was coming along, I was like, I want to be a dad way more than I want to be a drug addict, So I just decided to start doing the work. Like I said, I was on 170 milligrams of methadone. I marched into the methadone clinic and I said, I want to get off this stuff. And they're like, all right, we'll set you up with a really gentle taper. It's going to take you about a year and all that. I said, I got a month. I was like, let's get off this 170 milligram dose in 1 month. So they told me, no, you're going to relapse. I said, I'm not this time.
Because you knew.
I just knew, you know what I mean? And whether I did it because I had that inner resolve, or even out of spite, or just because like I wanted to be the best dad possible, and I knew I couldn't do that and be the best drug addict in the world anymore, So yeah, I had to pick. So I was just ready. My girlfriend at the time was she even tapered, pregnant, which was against their advice as well.
Yeah.
But like it all worked out. I kicked in a month, losing my mind, wasn't sleeping. I was in my mom's basement reading conspiracy theory books, losing my mind, thinking the aliens were coming for me. But I made it through that.
Yep.
And just started on that path to recovery. I think one of the big things that we miss when we're talking to people in early recovery and talking about what their life is going to look like is just like completely creating that new identity. And I think that was one of the things that led me to being successful early on, was that like I knew I wanted to be a father, and I also got back into martial arts. Like that was like literally one of the pathways to recovery that I used. It was kind of just like a perfect storm. Like I'd grown up in this karate school, and when I got clean, I'm like, all right, I got to figure out what I'm gonna do. I gotta do something that I enjoy. I gotta make money, and very importantly, doing something that we enjoy, because I remember, growing up, my dad was very angry, and I think he like just kind of hated his job, and a lot of that contributed to the anger at home.
Yep.
So I was like, I want to find something that I enjoy. I might not get paid a ton of money, but I came up with the idea. I was like, I'm going to be a world champion fighter, right?
Yes.
It's like, this is my goal. I'm like, I know martial arts. I know how to move. I'm like, I just got to get back in shape and tune up the instruments, so to speak.
Yep.
And get back into it. So I went back to my old karate school, and it wasn't necessarily like the techniques that I was learning or the actual karate itself, but it was like these people that I had grown up with my entire life that had kind of seen me go down the wrong path, lose touch, and a little weary when I first walked back in, but like overall were super welcoming. And that became like my support system, because I didn't jump right back into 12-step recovery.
Yep.
I'd been through it in the past. I had sponsors, work steps, done all of that. And like I said before, memorized a bunch of it,
Yep.
So I was like, I'm going to do this a little bit differently. And, like I mentioned to you, before we signed on, I kind of hid from the world for the first few years. So, I was doing a lot of karate. They were very welcoming and supportive of me. But I got my personal trainer certification because in my mind I was like, all right, I have to like spend as much time in the gym as possible. I got a mitt holding certification for boxing. So then I had like, some personal training clients and I'd be like, hey, you want to try boxing? And, kind of like introduce them to boxing. And I kind of built, a clientele that liked that. And that was kind of the launch pad where I was able to start my own business. And that was still like kind of a controlled environment for me. Like I didn't go anywhere. I never, I wouldn't hang out with people. I wouldn't do like, concerts or parties or anything like that. I was like deathly afraid of using again, so I just kept everything like very isolated and controlled, in a way that like just made me comfortable, know? So I did that for a while and eventually I fell in love. And I had this girl and she's like, hey, we have to do things together and stuff. And at first I was like, not ready for that. And she's like, well, I'm going to be like doing things. She's a normal person. No addiction or anything like that. Normies as we call them sometimes. So, I had to figure out how to do these things. It was
rejoin the human race.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. And I'm kind of skipping around a bit, but this was after my brother passed, Okay. So I was 2 years in recovery when I lost my brother. And I do like to say that because a lot of times people are like, oh, if I lost my parents, I'd relapse, or if my brother died or my grandma died, I'd lose it. I'd go off the deep end, I also had a lot of support at that time. Like I said, the people in my karate school, my brother was very, very popular and loved in town. He didn't like rob everyone he knew like I did, So like all those people kind of just came out of the woodwork and like offered me support, a second chance and all that. And I was luckily in a good place to like accept that and take it for what it was, and use the help that was offered to me. But that was when I got back into therapy. That was probably the most important thing that I did, because I don't think at that point, if I didn't start doing like some kind of work on my recovery, I probably wouldn't, be sitting here today, because I fully believe that like recovery takes work, and I might have done it by luck for the first couple years by hiding and shutting people out, but I don't like recommend that to people, So the work that I started doing in therapy was super important, because I was just angry and traumatized, and I just had to get all that out. My therapist, I've been with her for the past 7 years, and she's not like an addiction therapist, but like she does like children and families and stuff too. So that's the kind of stuff that she helps me with. Obviously, like I talk about my addiction, but like she helps me, you know, work on my anger and being reactive and stuff, because I think that like, you know, that got passed down to me from like all the men in my family, like that like generational anger that just comes with, you know,
trauma transference.
For sure. So that's been a huge part of my recovery is my therapist. So starting the gym, you know, teaching combat sports. I started competing in kickboxing. That was like super cool, you know, because someone that, you know, like I used to, just, I was reckless, you know what I mean? I used to like pick up needles off the ground. Like I didn't give a shit. And like now, you know, by some miracle, I can like pass a blood test and get in the ring. You know what I mean? Like it's a little like,
surreal.
It's surreal. It's a little poetic that I was like able to come from that. And like now 37 years old, I'm competing at a fairly high level in kickboxing, you know. This will be my 7th kickboxing fight coming up. I had 1 MMA fight. It's really cool. Like when I'm getting ready for a fight, it turns me into the best version of myself. You know what I mean? Like in the gym every day, eating healthy, you know, super focused.
Yeah.
And you know, granted, we got to let loose a little bit too. And trust me, I do that after my fights. You know, eat pizza and cookies and like I literally like the other fighters, like after their fights, they go right to the bar. I go right to my gym bag because I have a bag of chips and a box of Oreos in my bag for right after I fight, you know? But it's just as much a part of my recovery as anything else.
Yeah.
And that was kind of the point I was trying to make, is like kind of creating a new identity, because we identify so hard as like addicts or alcoholics for so long that like I really do believe we need something else to like, you know, carry us into the next level of life. You know, you can't stay attached to that forever, you know.
Yes. We need to find out exactly who we are.
Right.
You know, one of the I don't know if you've been to the Recovery Coach Academy. So the first exercise in the Recovery Coach Academy is who am I?
Yeah.
So you have to take a pie chart and you have to create at least 5 things in who you are, right? So it's like, you know, me and you, right? Father.
Yep.
You know, brother.
Yep.
You know, all these things. I'm a big gym guy now, you know, and putting on some weight and stuff like that. And like, even now it's like musician, right? Like all of a sudden I'm like bored every day. Right? Like I'm sober. What do I do in my life? It's like I'm not walking up and down Park Street looking like, what do I do all day? Oh, I learned how to play guitar, right? And you add up all these things and like really figure out who you are.
Yep.
And then you take it and you pass it to your partner, and they have to scratch something else out, and they have to slide it back to you, and they have to ask you, like, what would your life be like without that piece of the pie? And you're like, wow, like, what would my life be without music? Or what would my life be like without being a father? And you're like sitting there, and then you guys have a group discussion on it, right? Because somebody randomly takes something. They have no idea how truly valuable it is to you and to your identity. And then you have that discussion on it.
That's an awesome exercise.
Yeah.
I could run a whole group off of that. That'd be sweet. I'm going to use that.
Steal it. It's definitely some good stuff, you know, and identity is really key.
Yeah.
You know, especially as a man too, right? It's like you get sober and it's like, you know, who am I and like, what am I going to do? And like, you know, and getting into that, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Are you ready to make a difference in the lives of others? If so, then you should consider becoming a recovery coach. Recovery coaches are trained to help people in recovery, seeking recovery, or struggling with addiction. They provide support, guidance, and resources to help people on their recovery journey. CCAR Training is the leading provider of recovery coach training programs. Our programs are designed to teach you the skills and knowledge, what we call the science, while giving you an understanding of your own art needed to be a successful recovery coach. We offer a variety of training options, most offered online. If you're interested in becoming a recovery coach or just learning more, I encourage you to visit our website or contact us today. We would be happy to answer any questions you have and help you get started on your journey to becoming a recovery coach. We hope you'll visit us at www.addictionrecoverytraining.org to learn more.
So yeah, the fighting was a big thing. Being a dad, I recently got a dog.
Nice.
I love that. A German short hair pointer.
Nice.
If anyone's familiar with that breed, they're like a hunting dog.
Yes.
Bird dog. And I don't hunt. I mean, I would. I just don't. But I run a lot for my fights and stuff. I'm very active. Like that was the thing. Like I wanted like a super like active breed.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And I had a GSP mix with an ex that I absolutely loved the dog, and she got the dog in the breakup. So I'm like, hey, let me get one of my own. You know?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I love that. My daughter loves the dog. I'm just like hitting a point in my life where like I'm just like a single guy for the first time, you know.
Okay.
Like I was married at first in early recovery. We got divorced, and I got into another relationship pretty much right away. Was with her for 5 years, and just this past spring we broke up. And I went through all the stages of grief and all that. It's like, who am I? What is my life going to be like without this person and all that? And like, I'm like now at a point where like all my bills are in my name. You know what I mean? It's like my like even my cell phone. Like my cell phone used to be on my parents' account, and like I would pay bills. I'd give my girlfriend rent money or money for the bills or whatever like that. But now it's like, it's different. Like having the bills in my name, like I literally just paid rent this morning, and that's like, it's a lot of money.
Yeah.
every month. And like in my mind, I feel like it should be difficult for me, but I get like such a sense of satisfaction. Like I get this little dopamine hit from like paying my rent. And I'm just like, this is so cool. Paying my electric bill, my cable bill, like all that stuff is in my name. And it's the small things like that you just don't know about. You don't know you're going to appreciate that much. I hear people a lot of times talk about like all the things they lost in addiction and stuff. And I was like, I can't relate because I never had shit. So now when I like acquire things, I'm like, this is so cool. Like this is such a big deal for me. And like paying the bills is just one of those things, like things that people dread. And it just like symbolizes like I've reached a new level in life of like responsibility and accountability and all that. And I love it. Even if there's like difficult stuff in my life, like it's like a privilege to be able to like deal with that and not like use over it or get angry over it or act out in any number of ways. But it's all from like practice.
Yeah.
That's like my favorite word. I remember that like Allen Iverson speech where he's like, practice. We talking about practice right now, right? I love that because like I really do believe in practice, and that's what all this recovery stuff takes, and that's what I try to reinforce every day at work with the clients that I work with that are in early recovery. I'm like, if you think that you're going to come through detox or inpatient and then get out and just live life like this all never happened, like you have another thing coming. If you can do that, you should probably write a book on it, because I don't really know anyone who's been able to do that. Like it all requires work, and it doesn't have to be AA, NA, Smart Recovery, Phoenix, whatever it is, but it has to be something, and you have to commit to it and do the work, do it every day.
Action.
I call someone in recovery every day, non-negotiable. My best friend, Bobby, right? We call him Bobby Knuckles. This guy, he's an older dude. He's retired, and he's got 34 years clean, right? He went through Rushford as well, way back in the day. And this guy came into my gym at 450 pounds.
Wow.
Okay. And he says, hey, coach, I need to lose some weight. So I was like, all right, yeah, just come to the gym every day, you know? So he started showing up twice a week. They started showing up 3 times a week. And I had him coming in every day. And then he's retired. So he would come in the morning, go home, and come back in the evening. I'm like, you are an addict, huh? So you know, he's coming to the gym every day, twice a day. He gets down to about 350, 347. And I remember this number for a reason, right?
Okay.
He gets down to about 347. So he lost about 100 pounds, and he comes in the gym and he's like, hey, coach, I plateaued. He's like, I'm stuck at 347. I've been there for over a month. He's like, I don't know what I'm doing. So go home and write me a list of everything you're eating, right? This is the first time I'd said anything to him about his diet, you know? Yeah. So he's like, all right. And I'll tell you the truth. He went home and made a searching and fearless inventory of everything he ate. And it was like, you know, he brought it back, and, you know, I knew he was like old school AA, so I could be a little tough with him, you know? So I'm looking at the list, and I'm like, Bobby, I'm like, what's this? I'm like, you 4 creams, 4 sugars in your coffee. I'm like, you know, you're eating a big breakfast before you come to the gym. I'm like, you're not even burning this off, you know, like you're probably just burning barely enough calories to like stay where you're at, you know? I said, as far as breakfast, I said, I need you to do, you know, intermittent fasting. I wanted to make it simple for him, you know, because I know a lot of weight loss is like calories in, calories out. But intermittent fasting can help you shave down those calories. And I wanted just to give him like simple things that he could do, that he could follow, right? So I said, intermittent fasting, you're not going to eat until after your morning workout. I said, if you want to consume anything, it's going to be water or black coffee. Do not put anything else in your body before your workout. And I go back to the list. I say, Bobby, what is this? I'm like, you're going to the deli? You're going to the deli after you leave my gym, and you're eating a sandwich. I said, okay, Bobby, let's do it like this. I said, you can still go to the deli, but I say, ditch the bread, right? You can take that same sandwich, you can ditch the bread, put it in a bowl, call it a salad, boom, right? I said, you know what bread is? I said, bread is comfort food. I said, and if you need comfort, get a puppy. I said, there's no nutritional value in bread, right? I eat bread from time to time, but I know what it is. I'm not getting any like nutrition from bread, and
it's just enjoyment.
And for someone who's, you know, life is at risk because of obesity, you know what I mean? It's like, don't eat bread, bro. You know what I mean? You don't need it. And then it was and then the next thing I came to was ice cream sandwich. Ice cream sandwich every night. I said, dude, this is what you're going to do. I said, you're going to take that ice cream sandwich, you're just going to throw it in your shorts, skip the middleman. He goes, coach, but I get more stuck in between my teeth than I do in my actual stomach. So, this is the kind of relationship that we had. So he started following my diet advice. He lost 47 pounds in 47 days.
Wow.
A pound a day, just from coming to the gym and taking my advice. And now, like, Bobby can do things. Like, we go to concerts. He goes to all my fights. Yeah. Like, you know, we go on road trips to see all our friends fight. And it's awesome, you know, because he has like real quality of life. And I don't think that would have happened if we didn't have like that recovery stuff in common. Like, I knew how to work with him because of, like, you know, all the, you know, the recovery stuff that I've been through. And I'm like, it's just an addiction. Yes. You know, it's just a food addiction, and we need to treat it like that.
Yep.
So yeah, he's a huge support system for me. Like, you know, I call him every day, and he's one of those people that I just call, and I'm just like, hey, what's up? You know, and we just talk, you know? And it's doing things like that. It's practicing, calling people every day when it's easy. So when it gets hard, that's your practice. That's what you go to. You're going to pick up the phone. You're not going to pick up drugs or alcohol. Yep. So I mean, yeah, that's really like my complete picture of recovery. Like, I do believe in 12-step recovery. I tell people all the time, like, you know what a sponsor is? And they're like, what? I'm like, a sponsor is someone to lead you through the steps. I'm like, it's not someone to lend you money, drive you to meetings, tell you not to date the newcomer. Like, a sponsor is someone to bring you through the steps. And if your sponsor is not doing that, you got to find a new one, because that's what it is. Like, when we talk about 12-step recovery, like, a lot of people leave like the steps on the table. Like, there's the program and the fellowship, right? And when Dr. Bob and Bill W. wrote the book, like, nowhere in that book do they talk about meetings.
No, because there was no meetings.
Correct, right? So meetings are great. You need that fellowship. You need to change people, places, and things, build a whole new, network of people, make new friends, all that stuff. But, like, don't skip the program and just do the fellowship, right? Because, like, the steps is really what's going to lead you to that, like, freedom from the desire to use.
Meetings are 12-step support groups, right?
Yes.
So that's a group that you go to support in working your 12-step program outside of the group.
Yep.
Yeah. I like that part of the conversation, especially working with people and stuff like that. The thing too is, like, a lot of people don't always understand that. And, like, it's difficult too, because a lot of people come in with the Hollywood understanding is like, I'm going to come to these meetings and then I'm going to walk out and I'm going to make a bunch of apologies to people.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, hang on, listen, like, let's take a seat, let's get comfortable. You know what I mean? Let's listen, let's see what this is about. And, like, I always talk to people about that, because, like, I always say I'm a product of osmosis. Like, my ass sat in the seat long enough that my thinking actually started to change, right? And I started to understand. So it took me a period of time to really get in there, because I would bounce in and out. But, like, I needed to come, sit down, and learn this, and then get a sponsor and work this, and do the step work,
Yeah, totally. Yep. Yeah. So I totally believe in 12-step recovery, and, through working the steps in previous bouts of recovery, like, I incorporate those principles into my recovery today. I'm not a huge meeting goer today, but I do things like where I'm, fellowshipping with people in recovery. Like, I do run a lot of Phoenix events at my gym. We do, like, recovery boxing every other Sunday. I think the second and fourth Sunday is rock climbing at Central Rock in Glastonbury, and then I do the first and third at my gym up in Tolland. And that's a good time. Bobby comes to that, regularly. You know what I mean? We're Phoenix guys through and through now.
Really
and
awesome.
we have a good network of people in there. When I am at work, like, a lot of the guys that I work with, especially, like, they just all want to hear about, my fighting.
Yes.
And, like, very often I bring it back to recovery. I'm like, I wouldn't be able to do cool shit like this if I didn't stay clean and do the work in recovery. So it's kind of like a big picture thing for me.
Thank you so much, and it was really good to have you on today.
Yeah, definitely. I really enjoyed it. Yeah.
Thank you.
Cool. Yeah, anytime, man. Yep.